Today we are going to look at the business law, which is the second paper of the CA Foundation. As you all know, there are 4 papers in CA Foundation, and today we are going to start understanding the 2A, which is the business law, which is for about 60 marks in your CA Foundation. Right. Now, how many chapters are there in this business law? There are about 5 different chapters. Chapter number 1, the Indian Contract Act 1872. Chapter number 2, the Sale of Goods Act 1930. The third chapter, the Indian Partnership Act 1932. The 4, the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. And the 5, the Companies Act 2013. Now, we are not going to study the entire Companies Act here in Foundation. The Companies Act has been divided into 3 different classifications, which is there for a small part in CA Foundation and a reasonable part in the intermediate and the balance in the CA final. Likewise, the first chapter, Indian Contract Act, has 2 different classifications of contracts. The number 1 is called general contracts and the second is called the special contracts. Now, the special contracts are not going to be there discussed in your foundation level, which is there obviously in your CA intermediate, where it is there as 40 marks in your CA intermediate syllabus. Now, here we will be discussing only the first part called as general contracts. Right. Now, getting on to the subject, the Indian Contract Act 1872. Before we get into the PPT, let me discuss some preamble to the Act. Let me try to understand the basic certain matters of the Indian Contract Act 1872. This Act 1872 is very clear that this act has got enacted in the year 1872 before independence, which means it was done by the British Indian Parliament, and where this act was enacted in 1872 and it has seen many amendments, but still the act which got introduced in the year 1872 is carrying the name along with it, and hence it is called Indian Contract Act 1872. Now, as I told you, this Indian Contract Act 1872, which carries 2 different classifications. In CA Foundation, you have 6 different units under the Indian Contract Act, which means the first chapter has 6 units. Unit number 1, the nature of contracts. 2, it is consideration. 3, essential elements of a valid contract. 4, performance of contract. 5, it is breach of contract. And the 6th part, maybe it is not general, it is the start of the special contracts called contingent and quasi contract. Now, through the series of lectures, we are going to understand the entire Indian Contract Act 1872. Right. Now, Indian Contract Act, as I told you, was passed in the British India Parliament, and this act contained 266 sections. Initially, when it started, it had about 266 sections, but we are not going to study all the 266 sections. We are going to study up to the sections which will have only those matters up to general contracts. Right. Now, what is this Indian contract all about? Those days, your grandfather, my grandfather did business. They had transactions. Those days, it is not like today where you can buy something from Swiggy, you can order your iPhone 12 from your Amazon. Those days, it was a barter where people relied on the oral communication. But sir, today oral communication is not valid. We will come to that little later. But why this Contract Act got its birth in 1872? As there are more and more of transactions started happening between people, and where to regularize, to channelize various matters that was being discussed between 2 different parties were tried to be brought into a form of a written or a oral, it is called a contract. Right. Now, can this Indian Contract Act 1872 has a retrospective effect in it? What do you mean by retrospective effect? Anything which has happened earlier, which is not done today but done earlier. Now, what is this retrospective effect? Please understand, the Indian Contract Act does not give retrospective effect, which means anything done before 1872, which means like any contract which has been entered between two people in 1871 does not have an effect under this act, because the Indian Contract Act is a prospective act, which means after the enactment of this act, any contract which was entered between two different people in India, then it will be brought under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Right. Now, you and I purchase something, you and I enter into a transaction. Now, there is an agreement between you and me. Now, can I say that agreement is a contract? Maybe, but if every agreement can become a contract, then anything can become a contract. Now, sir, agreement is different than contract is different. Let me look into the slides here. Contract, as I told you, is agreement plus something else. Now, sir, you mean to say that contract is equal to agreement, but it is not only agreement, there is something that you need to add on to get the name called contract. Yes, that is called enforceable by law. What do you mean by enforceable by law? If anything between you and I can be taken to the courts of law, then it is called as enforceable by law. Now, sir, can there be anything which cannot be taken to the courts of law? An example here. You come to my son's marriage, or rather, I am inviting you to my son's marriage. It's happening, assuming on 14th February of 2032, because my son is very small. So 32, assuming he is getting married, and I am inviting you all students, and one of my students, say Akshay, is saying, sir, definitely I'll be there in the marriage. Don't worry, sir, we will come and bless your son. And I have made a note of it. Mr. Akshay is coming to my son's marriage. Now tell me, on that 14th February 2032, he did not turn up. He did not come at all. Now, can I go to the court and say, my lord, my student has not fulfilled his promise. He has not fulfilled his contract. He promised me, he told me that he will come, but unfortunately he did not come. By this contract between Akshay and me for my son's marriage attending, I will file a case against him and I will claim a compensation. Is this valuable? Is this tenable in the courts of law? The answer is no, because it's a social in nature. It's a social agreement. It is just that I am inviting you. There is no contract here. Now we will get into the details of it. Contract is equal to agreement plus enforceable by law, which gives another understanding that all contracts, I repeat, all contracts are necessarily an agreement. Please remember, all contracts are necessarily an agreement, but all agreements need not result in a contract. Now, what do you understand from that? Sir, this is just an agreement, sir. This is just an agreement, and this is present and this is absent. Can I call that as a contract? The answer is no. Sir, this is present and this is also present. Can I call that as a contract? The answer is yes. Which means a plain agreement cannot turn out to be a contract. For an agreement to turn into a contract, you need another plus condition called essential element enforceable by law. Now, we will discuss that what are the essential elements in our future slides. Now, as far as contract is equal to agreement plus enforceable, and agreement is equal to contract plus, just make a note of it in your notes that all contracts are necessarily an agreement, but all agreements are not necessarily a contract. Right. Now, going back. Now, what do you mean by agreement, sir? What is an agreement? An agreement is nothing but offer plus acceptance. Now, sir, what do you mean by offer? I am asking you, will you buy my car? I am asking you, will you sell your scooter? Now, there is an offer from my side. Now, the moment I make an offer, whom I am? I am called as offerer. The moment it is made to you, then you are called as offeree. Right. Now, there should be two parties always in a contract. This is another thing that you should all remember, that the contract is between one person to another person and it cannot be between him and him. So, any contract to be a valid contract, there must be two different parties always, and which will only make it as a contract. Right. Now, what do you mean by offer? I told you, offer is something that I am asking you whether you will buy my scooter, you will sell your car. Right. Now, sir, is that alone makes an offer? The answer is no. Let me look into the definition of offer here. See, where one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. Now, there are key words in this definition that you should make note of, where one person. In this example, me asking you whether you will buy my car. The one is me, a person signifies to another, that is you. Me to you, my willingness. What is my willingness? To sell my car or to buy your scooter, right? Now, this willingness to do or to abstain, which means it can be positive or it can be negative. Sir, how can a contract be performed in negative? Now, assuming the Akshay, he has come to my son's marriage and he is seeing that the evening light music party is happening, and he picked up the mic and he started shouting, calling himself that he is singing. I am going and telling Akshay, Aram se, don't do all this stuff. The marriage is happening. If you are silent, if you don't do anything, I will give you 1000 rupees. Now tell me, for not doing, which is to do or to abstain. Or to abstain means not to do, which is like negative. I will not do this, for which you give me money, you give me something. That's the place where you should understand to abstain. So, which means one can offer to another willingness to do or not to do from doing anything with a view to. What is that with a view to? Now tell me, if I want to offer, and assuming I am a sales head of BMW, now March end pressure, I have to finish the sales, I will have to definitely achieve the sales and show my prospect in the BMW company. Now I am seeing 4 beggars on the road, not to demean them, with the due respect to the beggars there out on the road. Can I go and ask them, sir, sales target hai mera, I have to finish my target, can you buy my car? Now, I don't know whether the beggar will agree or not. Today's scenario, we don't know. The money is with many people, but assuming the example of the beggar and the BMW salesman, the beggar will obviously say, chalo yaar, don't disturb me. I have enough of work to collect 10 rupees and 5 rupees and 2 rupees, and you are coming and asking me BMW purchase. No, it will not happen. So, even though I have the willingness, see, even though I have the willingness to offer the BMW car to the beggar, please remember, even though if I have the willingness to offer the BMW car, there is no intention of obtaining the assent. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by intend to receive the acceptance from the other? The person to whom I am making the offer, he should be in a position to accept the offer. Sir, how confident you are that he will definitely accept? See, he may accept, he may not accept, Kana, but we have to ensure that to whom we are making that offer is ready to accept back or reject politely. So, you should know to whom you should ask. Now, to put it very simply, there should be two different things, two important things in an offer. One, the willingness of the offerer, and the intention to receive the assent. Assent matlab like acceptance. Assent means acceptance, right? Now, if the acceptance from that person is received, then it means the offer is said to be complete. It is not to be received. It may be received or may not be received, but we should be making the offer to only those people from whom we expect that there can be a positive response. Now, another example just to tell you about this offer, assuming you are a college student and you are on February 13, all your friends are having their own girlfriends and they are trying to party out on February 14 that you don't. Now, another friend is saying, hey, come on, you buy 150 greeting cards and tomorrow you can go to various colleges of girls colleges in your place, and you can give the cards to each and everybody, and anybody can say yes, and from there you can pick up and you can celebrate your February 14th. Is this an offer? Can you go and tell that I am a person bachelor waiting for someone, can you please accept, can you please expect? Is this the way of you can make an offer? Maybe the willingness is there, but the intention is there to accept from all the 150? No, it is from only one. So, this is not an offer, this is a trial and error, please remember. Now, instead you have eyed on one particular girl and you want that girl to accept, you will buy only one greeting card, you will go to temple, then you will take a U-turn to the church, and from there you will go to the mosque and you pray that that girl has to accept, and you go and tell like I love you, and she may accept, she may not accept, but the acceptance will happen or not happen, but there is an intention to receive the acceptance from her. So, please understand these two important elements that you should be writing in the examination, that the willingness word and with a view to obtain the assent. These two words are very key in the definition of offer. Sir, okay. Now, offer alone makes agreement. We will go to our previous slide where I was explaining this contract is equal to agreement offer plus acceptance. Now, we understood there are two different things. One is willingness, the other is intention to receive the acceptance. Now, sir, what is acceptance? Now, what is acceptance? Now, this girl, the example what I said, she says, I like you, but my father cannot accept you. Now, why father cannot accept me? Because you are not an earning member. You find a job, then we will tell it to our parents and then we can get married. Now, tell me, is this called acceptance? Sir, this is not acceptance. This is called counter offer. I made an offer that I love you. Now, you are not accepting. You are putting conditions. If all these conditions are satisfied, I will love you. Now, tell me, is this an acceptance? No. The acceptance must be in absolute form with no conditions. Now, assuming that the BMW is being sold to you and you are telling that no, the color is white color or the blue color. Now, tell me, can you ask for a pink color? Right? And if at all you ask, will it become an acceptance? No, it will become a condition. You have to fulfill that condition and then I will buy the car, which is not an acceptance, my dear boys and girls. It is called counter offer. You make an offer, I will counter that, but I will not accept. So, what you need to understand from this particular point of juncture is that acceptance is nothing but where you accept it with no conditions, with an absolute form, is called acceptance. So, offer is something which is made from one person to another person, where that one person is having the willingness to offer with an intent to receive the acceptance from the other, and then the acceptance should be given in a complete, absolute, with no conditions. Right, sir? If these two are given, now tell me, can I call this as a contract? The answer is no, because the moment you make the offer, it is called the promise made by one person and accepted by the another person, but it cannot turn out to be a contract because contract requires more conditions. But before that, before we understand enforceability conditions, we have much more definitions to understand. As we understood offer and acceptance as of now, we have some more conditions, some more definitions like. So what is an agreement? Agreement is nothing but offer plus acceptance. Now, is that the only aspect that we need to understand in terms of what is a contract? Nah. You have many other things like consideration, and you have void agreement, you have void contract and voidable contract, but it has to be done in the next lecture, for which you will have to wait for the second series to start. But before I could conclude, before I could say thank you, let me summarize what we have done in this chapter or in this unit. All contracts are necessarily agreements, correct? Yes, but all agreements are not contracts. Why? An agreement should be called a contract only with an add-on condition called enforceable by law. So contract is equal to agreement plus enforceable by law. If the enforceable by law is missing, then I would call agreement as an agreement, but if it is there, then I should call it as a contract. So the next is, what do you mean by an offer? Offer is nothing but willingness to offer and with a view to obtain the assent of the other. And when a proposal is accepted, when accepted, it becomes a promise to perform. Thank you.